and a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us here on Hope TV Newswatch to bring you up to speed with the stories making headlines in the country and beyond. My name is Grace Songo, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Boniface Muredi. Now, in recent days, the Ministry of Health has reported an increase in COVID-19 numbers, begging the question of whether we are in the 7th wave. We'll be getting to answer this and many other questions from Lillian Mutua, who is the head of promotion of health at the County of Nairobi. Let's begin. Now, the Employment and Labor Relations Court has issued a conservatory order stopping the vetting of 51 principal secretaries by the National Assembly. Justice Nzioki Makau gave the order pending the hearing and determination of a petition before the court. The names of the PS nominees should not be presented to Parliament. According to Macau, serious issues have been raised by the applicant, the Law Society of Kenya, touching on the disparity, ethnic and gender balance. The Law Society of Kenya had moved to court saying the nomination of the 51 PSs did not meet the criteria and the aspirations of all Kenyans was not inclusive. LSK further sued the Attorney General, the National Assembly, and the Public Service Commission, which conducted the nominations of the 51 PS nominees.
It is pursuant to Head of State's agreement and resolution to the East African countries to engage in DRC. So we are not doing it unilaterally. The countries agreed, the Head of State's agreeing. So the Commander-in-Chief in our country is doing what he is doing is in pursuant to that agreement. But nevertheless, the other countries are already engaged. In fact, South Sudan, I think, is already engaged. Burundi is already engaged. Rwanda is already engaged on their side of the boundary. Uganda as well. The only country that is not as engaged as we speak, and I'm sure they would, and that is within their domestic discussion, is Tanzania. So it's not a unilateral decision. It is a shared responsibility within the East Africa, and we're just doing what we agreed to do. And as I said, the DRC question, the decision we made and took as a country is the right one.
On the situation of migrant workers, Kenyans who are working in other countries, particularly Saudi Arabia. I think, number one, what we will do differently, or rather, if I may characterize the problem, it is my understanding that part of the problem actually starts here. It starts with the way in which they are sourced, the way in which they're processed, the terms in which they're employed, amongst others. So the number one thing that we must really do, Mr. Chair, is to make sure that from the Ministry of Labor, that we are very, very clear about what are the terms of engagement for our work, for our citizens who are working in Saudi Arabia and other countries.
Now, President William Ruto has chaired the second cabinet meeting at State House, Nairobi, 5 days since he led the previous one. The meeting comes after the Labour Court temporarily stopped the ongoing vetting of principal secretaries nominated by the President. Ruto's second cabinet meeting also comes as city residents struggle with rising insecurity cases. In its last meeting, the cabinet, which received a brief from the CBC task force, approved a framework to settle all outstanding obligations owed to the road contractors in the amount of 92 billion shillings through a bridge bond. The cabinet also approved the establishment of Kabonyo Fisheries and Aquaculture Service and Training Center of Excellence in Kisumu. The 1 billion shilling center will facilitate training, research, innovation, and best practices in fisheries and aquaculture through demonstrations and incubations. Now, 4 petitions seeking the removal of 4 commissioners of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, have been presented to the National Assembly. The petitions are against Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera, Commissioners Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, and Justice Nyang'aya, who rejected presidential results announced by IEBC Chairperson Wafula Chebukati on August 15th for opaqueness in the final tally. Speaker Moses Wetangula, while confirming receipt of the 4 petitions, directed the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, JLAC, to look into the petitions and guide the House on whether they satisfy grounds of removal of any or all the 4 commissioners.
Honorable members, Article 251 of the Constitution grants any citizen the right to petition the National Assembly for the removal of a member of a constitutional commission or holder of an independent office for either serious violation of the Constitution or statute, gross misconduct, or incompetence. The petitions received are as follows. A. Petition by the Republican Party. The petition seeks the removal from office of Ms. Juliana Cherera, Mr. Julius Nyang'aya, Ms. Irene Masit, and Mr. Francis Wanderi on the grounds of violation of the Constitution and other laws. In the petition, the Republican Party states that the 4 commissioners, through their action of issuing a press statement rejecting election results on grounds that the chairperson of the IEBC had conducted the verification and tallying process in an opaque manner, A, failed to promote public confidence in the integrity of the office they hold and brought dishonor to the nation and lack of dignity for the office contrary to Article 73(1)(a) of the Constitution. B, failed to adhere to the guiding principles of leadership and integrity under Article 73(2) of the Constitution. C, failed to act in a manner that avoids demeaning the office that they hold, contrary to Article 75 of the Constitution.
Now, public participation on the Hustler Fund continued on the second day with various stakeholders from different sectors of the economy giving varied views regarding the fund that is slated to be launched on 1st December this year. Treasury officials collected views in Nyeri, Kitui, and Kisumu counties, where stakeholders urged the government to look into the waiver of interest for small borrowers and for a grace period before the start of the repayment of any borrowed money. The public participation process is expected to run until November 16th and is being conducted in 3 different groups. So far, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndongo has published regulations to govern the 50 billion shillings Hustler Fund under the Public Finance Management Act.
In the spirit of bottom-up, yule mama boga, yule kijana bodaboda ambayo tulikuwa tunaambiwa wakati wa siasa, huyo mtu kama atakopa pesa yoyote below 10,000, hiyo ilikuwa ni 0 interest rate. So that just like the way we are taxed, anybody below this amount of money is exempted from tax, isn't it? Kwa hivyo huyu mwenye ako pale chini kwa ile kwa pyramid, wacha huyu akikopa 0 to 1 shilling to 10,000, 0 interest rate. Tukienda from maybe 10,001 to 100,000, 4%. Wengine wako huko juu, wacha walipe hizo 9%, 9.9, we don't care. Sisi hapa chini tulipe 0.
Nikipata pesa leo na mwezi mwingine ninalipa, pengine haitakuwa imenisaidia, na kwa sababu tunatoka kwa hizi pesa kidogo ambazo tunapewa na wale wanatukopesha kupitia mitandao. Sasa unakuta unapewa mwezi huu mwingine unalipa.
Following the countrywide rise of insecurity cases, many of them associated with border riders, players in the thicker border sector and the sub-county security apparatus have vowed to collaborate to smoke out bad characters within the sector. Speaking during a consultative meeting between the police and the border sector members in Thika sub-county, Police Commander Daniel Kinyua said many cases of insecurity that have been reported to them are associated with motorbikes. Dolly Murigimbuvi with the details.
Insecurity cases in the country, especially in Nairobi and its environs, have increased in recent months. Reports say a small group of criminals armed with knives and other light weapons are terrorizing the residents in the city as well as other urban centers. The insecurity cases have been associated mostly with the boda riders, prompting the Thika boda sector players and the sub-county security apparatus to now join hands in effort to smoke out the bad characters within the popular transport subsector. Speaking in Thika Town, Police Commander Daniel Kinyua Recent cases of theft have been reported to police in Thika, mostly involve the snatching of mobile phones and laptops and are often associated with border borders, which criminals use to flee from crime scenes.
Tumeongea ya kwamba tutasaidiana pamoja, wale watu ambao wanafanya uhalifu moso ile mahali wanafanyia kazi, watatusaidia kupata hao watu ili tuweze kuwapeleka kotini waadhibiwe kisheria. Tumeweza kupeleka wengi kotini.
But despite the police doing their best to arrest and arraign suspects in court, the detectives said most of the complainants were mostly university and college students, although to withdrawing the cases from the court after being compensated, a move Kenya says gives new impetus to the criminals. On their part, the Thika Boda riders say the sector is committed to working in collaboration with the security apparatus in matter security as a collective responsibility.
Watu wengi wale tunakamata unapata ni wale victims, mostly wanakuanga na wanafunzi wa university ama college zile zingine siko hapa. Huyu mwanafunzi kama ameibiwa kitu kama simu ama laptop na ameona tumekamata muhalifu, tumempeleka kotini, yeye chenye anafikiria tu ni vile atapata simu yake. Kwa hivyo unastukia tu kesi mingi zile kamata watu mmepeleka kotini, hao watu wameenda wakaachiliwa. Ni sababu gani? Hawa wenye victims wenye walinyang'anywa vitu zao wanaenda kotini, alafu wanasema kesi zao siondolewe.
Kama wana bodaboda, hatukubali bodaboda yoyote kubeba bila the QR code, ile namba yetu ya sako ama kujoin sako yoyote. Na sisi kama wana bodaboda tunauliza Wakenya wetu wa kawaida, pikipiki yoyote sio bodaboda. Bodaboda ni yenye iko kwa stage na ukienda kubebo angalia kama iko na code. Kama haina wachana nayo.
In a bid to enhancing easier tracking of criminals using motorbikes to escape, the Boda sector has taken the bold step of erecting QR code on their motorbikes. They further pledge to continue working together with the police in cracking down the criminals.
Haswa hapa Thika tumekuwa na ushirikiano mzuri kuanzia administration department na National Police Service Department. Tumeshirikiana kwa pamoja ili tuweze kuhakikisha biashara ya hapa Thika na wakaaji wa hapa Thika wamepata usalama wao. Ningeweza kuambia wale ambao wanatumia hizi codes kuzifake, tuko nyuma yenu, tutawakamata. Na tukiwakamata tutapelekana mpaka mfungwe. Kwa sababu hatutaruhusu biashara ya wale watu wanajitafutia riziki iharibiwe na wachache. Na pia wale ambao wanafake hizi codes, wewe tukipata wewe unafanya kazi ya printing, tukikupata umeunda code pasipo kuruhusa yetu, tutahakikisha umefungwa pia ili tuweze kusafisha biashara ya boda.
On Monday, the government issued a stern warning to the criminals in Nairobi who have been mugging locals as well as bandits and terrorists that they will be dealt with according to the law.
And we want to warn those who think they can plan to hurt our country. We will go for them before they come to us. We will go for them before they come to us.
Meanwhile, locals have been told to be cautious as they use areas in Nairobi CBD which are considered to be prone to the insecurity cases such as the Kenya National Archives, Globe Cinema Roundabout, Ronangala Street, River Road, Haile Selassie Avenue, Mudhura Market, Uhuru Highway, Kirinyaga Road, the Ambassador Hotel and its environs, and Nyamakima, which are considered unsafe. Dolly Muriki for Hope TV.
Now, Lamu Governor Issa Timami has officially been inaugurated as the Amani National Congress ANC party leader. This follows the handover of the leadership mantle by Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Officials of the party at their headquarters in Lavington, Nairobi County, welcomed Timami's leadership and expressed hope that he will steer the party towards success. Tiffany Wamboi has more.
Your Excellency.
Following the resignation of Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi as the Amani National Congress ANC party leader, in October 2022. Lamu Governor Issa Timami has now officially taken over the leadership reins after the ANC party's council bureau nominated him to the position.
And thank you very much.
Governor Timami initially served as one of Mudavadi's deputy party leaders alongside Margaret Ntokai, Abdi Yare, Sakwa Bunyasi and Kasim Sawa Tandaza. Speaking during the coronation at the party headquarters in Lavington, the governor, who was flanked by ANC Secretary General Simon Gikuru and deputy party leader Margaret Ntokai among other leaders, thanked Mudavadi for giving him the opportunity to captain the team as he acknowledged his predecessor's progressive leadership over the party.
It is big shoes for anyone to fill. Honorable Mudavadi has been on the political scene for very many years. He is a giant of politics in this country. And the various positions he has held in this country surely indicate his stature. Therefore, it will not be easy to fill his shoes. It's a challenge, but believe you me, I am up to that challenge.
Timami committed to developing a 5-year strategy that will assure the party performs better during the 2027 general elections.
I will soon be meeting all the party leadership. We shall soon go for a retreat where we shall analyze what happened, what went wrong, why we performed poorly. At the same time, we shall come up with a 5-year strategic plan leading to the 2027 elections.
At the same time, ANC Secretary General Simon Gikuru, while congratulating Timami on his appointment, lauded the party members for being committed to the party ideas and not abandoning ship in the wave of political challenges. He further thanked President William Ruto for upholding the Kenya Kwanza coalition agreement, assuring of the party's support to his administration.
I would want to say that this is a tough party. It's a party that has really survived. For ANC to be here today, Your Excellency, it has not been a walk into the park. You all remember the onslaught against ANC and Ford Kenya. Some years, just 1 or 2 years before the elections, there was a deliberate plan to make sure that in the history of political parties in this republic, ANC and Ford Kenya would not survive. But ours is a strong party. It is a tough party. It has survived.
ANC party was founded by Musalia Mudavadi in 2015 following his exit from the United Democratic Front UDF party over controversies.
We are having the Lamu Cultural Week. You are the party leader. We may just want to come there and you take care of everything.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Tiffany Wamboy.
Let's now go for a fast break in Hope TV Newswatch. As promised, we'll be having an interview with Lillian Mutua from the Nairobi County, who is the head of health promotion, to discuss all matters to do with the COVID-19. Don't go away.
This week on Testify.
This life is enjoyable. It's at that time, it was enjoyable. It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
But little did I know that my mom was crying.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom was crying every day. And I can tell you, for so many days I came home and I heard her praying and telling God, may you give me one. Give me one, because 4 of my brothers were out drinking.
Wow.
Only on Hope TV. Look and live. Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Spotlight.
Do you feel like they are in a place where they can effect a Barack Obama moment?
When you hear the word of God and you hear Jesus is speaking.
Real talk on real issues.
You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead.
The truth of the gospel that will survive the time is not a health and wealth gospel.
When there is time to harmonize and bring one composite amendment.
With idealistic, thought-provoking guests.
So people come to be serviced, to be encouraged, to be empowered.
When the storm is over, you desire the closeness you have with God.
Hosted by Reverend Edward Furi.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Ministry of Health on Tuesday has announced that 132 people have tested positive for COVID-19 out of a sample size of 1,187 tested in the past 24 hours, marking a positivity rate of 11.1%. This brings to 340,600 total confirmed positive cases out of 3,931,599 cumulative tests conducted so far. In a statement sent to newsrooms, Health CS Susan Nakumicha noted that 119 patients recovered from the disease, pushing the total recoveries to 333,993, and that no deaths were recorded within the said period. In the last 24 hours, the ministry recorded 20,643 vaccines had been administered, while the total number of people fully vaccinated in the same period was 5,127. We are now joined by Lillian Mutua from the Nairobi County, who is the head of health promotion, to discuss all matters to do with COVID-19 and a cholera outbreak. Thank you so much, Lillian, for joining us. Now, we've seen that the country has recorded 132 new COVID-19 cases, and the positivity rate has shot to 11.1%. Should Kenyans be alarmed of this?
We know that we had gone low on the cases that are being tested positive. So once we see the number of testing for positive cases going up, we are aware that we are into another wave. I can attest that within the last 3 weeks, a lot of community conversations were going on where people were saying that they are having a cold, and the cold was not the normal cold. Some were feeling feverish, others were not able to cope with their daily work, and for sure, that shows that there's a community transmission ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, is it time that Kenyans go back to wearing their masks and social distancing, or can we attribute the increase in numbers to the removal of these restrictions?
Well, from the previous past, since we started having COVID-19 in our country, we have seen that there are times that the cases go high, and there's a time that we have very few reported cases, and in some instances, we even have days that we have 0 reports for people who have tested positive. Yes, the guidelines and the protocols for prevention and for the COVID-19 were not really put off, but were eased, where we found that we could still go back to communing together, where we could mix up in the social spaces. If you look at our transport, now we are carrying full capacity. The religious institutions were opened, schools were opened, and life was brought to near normalcy. What we should be aware of is once the numbers start increasing, it is ourselves, we the citizens, to remember what we went through, especially in 2020, and just take the precautions again. So not only for COVID, but when we were putting on the masks, we also saw that the respiratory infections went down. We saw that acute respiratory infections, like the pneumonias, were also down. The allergies were also down, accompanied by the hand hygiene. Their real cases also went down. So we should just look at the gains that we have had since 2020 to date and not revert to where we were. So if the incidences start going up, even if we are not able to really maintain the 1.5 meters social distance, can we surely mask up? If you look at the public transport, you find that people are overcrowded in vehicles and no masking. If you go to places like supermarkets, very few people are masking up. If you go to the workplaces, very few people are doing the same. I really appreciate some of the religious institutions who still adhere to the COVID-19 regulations, mostly the masking up and the hand hygiene. As much as their churches are back to full capacity, but some of the religious institutions, people are still putting on their masks. So when we see the increase of cases that are being tested and they're positive, let us just adhere to the same measures like previous.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned that there are community talks, that there's a flu that's going around. What are some of the symptoms that Kenyans should be on the lookout for in this 7th wave of the COVID-19? Should we expect that things are going to go back to how bad it was in 2020 if restrictions are not upheld?
Let us appreciate, number one, that the COVID-19 has no cure. It's a viral disease, so there's no cure. But let us also appreciate the gains that we have made because of the vaccination. We know even today, to this day, today, we have still some people who have gone to the ICU or the high dependency units in different hospitals. And once history is taken, we find that these people, most of them, the big number of them who are landing in the intensive care are people who have not been vaccinated. So let us also appreciate the benefits and the importance of being vaccinated. When we look at Nairobi, we know that we are doing at 54% plus of people who are fully vaccinated within the total population that we had targeted for vaccination. So we are yet to do 40 plus of people to get vaccinated. When we look at the 54%, it is those who have completed. At least they have had their second doses and some even having their booster doses. But we still have those who are yet to complete their second because they started way later, and there are those who are still unvaccinated. So when we look at the ease in the community in Nairobi, that is one of them. We know that some other counties are not doing very well, but it is our own responsibility. And I've said, when we look at where we were in 2020, with the lockdowns, with the staying at home measures, with the socio-economic impact that were not very good for us as a country, people not going to work, the children not going to school, let us learn from our previous experiences and embrace the guidelines and the measures that the government are putting for us. So let us appreciate that all of us who are eligible for vaccination, that is all adults above 18 years, should get the vaccination, should complete their schedule as appropriate, according to the type of vaccine that they're getting, and also getting the children who are 17 and below getting vaccinated. We know that we are towards the end of the year. We have seen what is going on. There are children who are transiting from the primary to their junior high school. We have those who are joining the high school. We shall also have candidates who sit for their O levels, and soon they'll be going to colleges. And we know children will travel far and wide. Let us ask as parents, as guardians and caregivers, what does it take if our child got infected when they're away from home? So during this long holiday, can we also ensure that the children who are supposed to get the vaccine also get the vaccine? We also have very clear guidelines that people who have chronic illnesses, people who have issues with their immunity, for example, people who are living positively with HIV/AIDS, even if it is the patients who are having TB and hypertension, any non-communicable disease like diabetes, we know their immunity is already tampered with because of the diseases that they're already having, some of them being chronic. We know they can also benefit from this vaccine, and it does not interfere with the medication that they are being given, as well as the pregnant mothers and the mothers who are breastfeeding. We have seen that the mothers who have been pregnant and gotten COVID vaccine, even if they get the COVID vaccine, it is not very serious disease. So let us also appreciate the information that once you get the COVID vaccine, it protects you from severe diseases or that can occur because of the COVID-19, that is the complications. And also the complications at times may lead to resort to death. But we have seen that once you get the vaccine, you're able to, even if you get the COVID disease, your body is able to fight for you. Yes.
Now, the people already exhibiting symptoms of the flu, is there anything that can differentiate the flu-like symptoms and COVID-19 symptoms? Those people already exhibiting the symptoms, what precautions should they take? Perhaps stay at home, put on their masks. What precautions should they take?
It's very good if we know that maybe a lot of people, because in 2020, we were doing mass testing. Right now, we don't do mass testing, we do targeted testing, where if you feel like you are exhibiting the signs and symptoms of COVID-19, you could go to the nearest health facility, diagnosis will be made, you will be tested, and if we find that you have the COVID-19, we are also able to trace the contacts who have been around you, maybe your family, your workplace, get a better history about the socialization and see who maybe was exposed and ask them to also self-isolate. Right now, people are not being isolated in health facilities. We are asking people to self-isolate at home. We know some of them, as we follow on contact tracing, we find that they do not follow that, but we ask, even if you're self-isolating, or if you exhibit the symptoms, even if you're not going to go to a facility, kindly try and have your mask on. Also appreciate hand hygiene by washing your hands under running water with soap. Also try to keep social distance. And if you think the symptoms that you are having are becoming a bit too severe, kindly visit the nearest health facility. The other thing that we have seen being exhibited by our citizens is that if, like now when we are saying that there is the cold, if you go to most of the pharmacies or chemists, they'll tell you people are coming with self-prescriptions of what people were being treated with when we had COVID at a large scale. So we are also requesting people not to self-medicate, because overuse or abuse or misuse of antibiotics, in the long run, you'll find that you are not able to get cured by the same when you need the same drug. So self-medication without prescription is also not warranted. And we are also re-emphasizing this for the young children. If you have a young child, kindly take them to the nearest health facility, let them have a prescription for the appropriate diagnosis that will be made. Yes.
Now, we're seeing that the country is experiencing some rains in different parts of the country. With this, we've also seen that there's an outbreak of cholera in various counties. What can you say about that?
We know that from September, there have been episodes of cholera, and not as much as it used to be before. And we can say that through the Ministry of Health and the county governments, the disease surveillance personnel are on the ground, looking at whether we have any suspected cases and taking the samples for testing. And we have seen that some people have resorted to be positive. And the same like we have done for cholera and for polio before. We still follow up the chain of the contacts who have been with them, looking at maybe where they may have eaten or consumed or even drank anything that may have been contaminated. So when we look at cholera, we usually say once we have one case reported, it is termed as an outbreak, because cholera is a notifiable disease according to Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization standards. So if one case happens, we are on a quick alert to follow up and see what might have triggered it. Do we have any issues on hygiene? Do we have any issues on sanitation? When we are looking at cholera prevention, we still re-emphasize on the hand hygiene. People should really wash their hands at the critical time. And the critical time include when you visited the washroom, before you eat, before you prepare your food, if you're going to breastfeed, if you're going to change your baby's diaper, and also looking at sanitation, environment sanitation. We also emphasize on food safety. the do's and the don'ts when preparing food to the time the people are taking it. So when there's such an alert, you look at the food hygiene practices. So if it is foods that are supposed to be eaten raw, you are supposed to wash them thoroughly. Make sure that you contain them in very safe measures, that they are not going to be contaminated. We also look at the storage. If you're going to store any foods that are cooked, before you reuse them again, they should be thoroughly boiled. We also look at how you're going to treat your water before you take it. We know during the rainy seasons, at times, the clean water could be contaminated with the rainy, stormy water. So we also emphasize on when you are drinking water, is it safe for use? So we request that the public is able to get the AquaTab and the water guard, which you can use for treating your water at home, just to make it safe. Then we also say the storage of the water, very important. Keep your water covered. The treatment for AquaTab and for water guard, once you've treated your water, it should stay for 30 minutes before use. And the water should also be very well mixed. If you're having children in the house, also teach them that they do not touch the water where it is kept. And if they should maybe put it in whatever vessel they are using to drink, they also do not contaminate the main water reservoir. We're also looking at environmental hygiene. How do we dispose the waste or the garbage that we have from maybe our household, our workplaces, and other places? Let us not just scatter it around, because if there is any cholera that is happening and the flies are going to go to that garbage or they will go to that waste, then land back on your food or your drink, it will be a source of contamination. Also, the way we dispose the human waste, very important. Let us use our toilets very well. If we are not able to, let us also talk to the public health officers and see the appropriate ways. We can have some pit latrines dug. We can also have safe human waste disposal. The other issue is when we look at food handling. Let us make sure wherever we are eating, at the eateries, at the hotels, the food handlers are certified. They have the medical certification where they have been cleared with a clean bill of health. Let us also look at where are we eating. For instance, in Nairobi, we find that a lot of people who have been infected by the cholera disease are male between 21 to 35 years. These are people who are rarely at the household and maybe eating out, and also 51 to 60, still the same habits. We know the children are also going for their long recess. Let us also give this information to the children that before they eat, they should wash their hands. Before they take any food in the home, it should be heated, and also the safety of the water that they drink, so that if they have to go for a distance, they also carry their own water and not just take any water anywhere. So these are measures that are being taken, and for Nairobi, we are working very closely with other collaborators, like the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. We are also bringing other people on board, like the environment sector. So everybody is on that alert as a county in Nairobi. We are also having our implementing partners on board and other facilitators. So it is a multi-agency when we are responding to cholera. Yes.
Now, Lillian, if you could just share your final remarks, even as we wind up this interview. Kenyans, we are almost reaching the December holidays. In regards to COVID-19, I know people will be traveling up country, others will be coming from up country, coming to Nairobi. What precautions should Kenyans take even as we go to the holidays?
We will say that let us take all the measures that it takes, first of all, to protect ourselves from COVID-19, the same measures for cholera. Let us see that when we are traveling, we carry our own foods, our own drinking water, our own drinks. If we need to maybe take any other, maybe the tea and whatever else that we need, let us have it carried by us, what we have prepared. Let us also refrain from eating along the roads or the routes that we travel. Let us also make sure, like now when we're having the rain, let us make sure that the water that we take, even at household, is very safe. Let us also say that any person who suspects to be having COVID or cholera, or even now that our neighboring country, Uganda, has Ebola, if you have any of those signs and symptoms, kindly you can call 719. That is a national MOH hotline number. You can also talk to them and tell them what you're experiencing. They will be appropriately be able to link you to the nearest facility and also follow-up being done. If you're within Nairobi, use 1508. That is our emergency operation number for Nairobi County, not only for health, but for any other disaster or emergency that happens, even if it is not health related, because we are able to link you up to the other agencies. Let us just take care of ourselves. Let us take the appropriate measures, because if the episodes of COVID-19 again go very high, or we are also reporting very high episodes of cholera, then it means now we move to the curative side, which also takes a lot of money. And lastly, just to remind the listeners and people who are watching, if you have any signs and symptoms of cholera, we should know what cholera is, because people also mistake diarrheal diseases for cholera. When one has cholera, it is very loose stool, which you cannot hold, which you cannot even say, I'm going to go to the washroom. It just passes. You cannot be able to hold it. The color is white, like the rice water, and it is effortless. And let us also know that cholera is a viral disease. It has no cure. The best cure for cholera is immediately it starts, and even for any other diarrheal disease, take plenty of water. Because once you lose a lot of water, that is where the complications start, and that is how we end up losing lives. So if you have cholera or diarrheal diseases, the treatment is water, water, water. Take plenty of water. And also when you're having diarrhea, illnesses or cholera, make sure you take some ORS, which is mixed with the water, and also take some zinc tablets. This helps to supplement the nutrients that you are losing, and you will not be able to be very fine. So anytime you think you're having cholera, if you've seen that watery, effortless, white-looking diarrhea, kindly call 719. If you're in Nairobi, call 1508. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian. That has been Lillian Mutua from Nairobi County, the head of health promotion. Now, a section of Kenya Ports Authority staff in Mombasa have once again rejected the move by KPA pension scheme leadership and trustees to attempt to sell houses belonging to the scheme to outsiders. The pensioners want members of the scheme to be given first priority in buying the houses, saying that their contributions over the years have contributed to the construction of the houses. While addressing the media, Pandya Estate Chairman Moses Mutali alleged that the current scheme officials and trustees are making crucial decisions without involving the members.
Pandya Estate in Mombasa County plays home to over 300 families and staff of Kenya Ports Authority KPA, all contributing to the KPA pension scheme. The estate's chairman Moses Mutali expressed dismay over a recent announcement by the pension management that rent will be raised beginning next year to reflect the current market rate within the area. A move he claims is aimed at removing them out of the houses so that they can be sold to people outside the pension scheme.
Watu wamepata mabarua kwamba mnatakikana ulipe pesa fulani. Where did we sign the agreement? Kwamba pesa inatakikana pesa fulani. Ndio saa hizi wanatuambia kwamba mnatakikana mlipe pesa fulani. Kwa hivyo tunataka wahusika, serikali ambayo inajua kwamba kila mfanyakazi ni vizuri own nyumba. Na hizi nyumba ambazo mnaziona huku nyuma, we are ready to own them.
According to the pensioners, the houses should be sold to them since their money is contributed in constructing them.
Kitu ambacho sisi tulikuwa tunasema, I'm a pension contributor. I have my millions of money katika pension scheme. Tumesema hizo nyumba tuusiwe sisi kama wafanyakazi wa bandarini ambao tunakaa katika hizo nyumba. If I cannot afford, wacha mtu mwingine afanye nini? Acha achukue hiyo nyumba na aweze kuimiliki. Tumesema hata kama ni pesa ngapi, watuambie, kuliko mchezo ambao wanacheza and they're spending a lot of money, meetings ambayo it's not adding value kwa sisi kama pensioners.
One of KPA staff member, Sharifa Kasim, says she has been contributing to the scheme since 1995 and called for investigation of the scheme officials, alleging that they had embezzled funds.
Twaomba wachunguzwe haraka iwezekanavyo, tuomba serikali ichunguze pension scheme office kuanzia mwanzo mpaka kule juu, mpaka akaunti za wale waloko pale. Including trustees wainvestigatiwe maakaunti yao. Walipoingia pale pension wana ngapi pesa kwa akaunti zao, na sasa hivi wamefikisha pesa ngapi kwa maakaunti zao mpaka zile za siri. Tunaomba wachunguzwe, kwa maana sisi twakuta hapa twanyanyaswa na hatuna mtetezi. Tukichagua trustees, tunachagua trustees ili watutetee, lakini unakuta sasa trustees wako pamoja na watu wengine mpaka wametuletea maagent kutoka nje.
The Mombasa High Court in 2019 stopped the sale of the houses belonging to the scheme pending a suit filed in court by one of the pensioners. For Hope TV Newswatch, I am Kawera Linda.
Moving on, the family of 27-year-old Christopher Waroi is demanding for justice after their king died mysteriously at the Kenafric Industries Company in Ruaraka, Nairobi County. Christopher was a machine operator at the industries where he met his untimely death after he was allegedly smashed by the machines he operates. The family is now calling on all relevant bodies to come to their aid in their fight for justice. Kenafric Industries Company has declined to comment on the matter, with the family having difficulties in accessing the company for several days now.
Tulipata habari zake on Monday, tukapikiwa simu na HR wa hiyo kampuni, na tulipopata hiyo habari alituuliza kama sisi ni wasasi, tukamwambia ndio, na akatuambia ya kwamba alipoingia kazi saa 1 kufikia kitu saa 5 mashini iliweza kumshika mkono na hapo ikamfuta mpaka ikafinya kifua yake, na wakati aliweza kutolewa mahali pale, kuna mahali alilalishwa jinsi walituelezea, na akawa na a lot of bleeding katika kichwa na kifua, na wakasema ya kwamba walipoita the ambulance alikuwa ameenda, so walimpeleka direct to the mortuary. Kwa hivyo tulipoenda hapo the same day, my husband na wachungaji wetu wa kanisa waliweza kuambiwa ya kwamba jambo ambao walipata katika simu ni ya ukweli, na kesho yake wakatuambia tukuje ili watuelezee jinsi kulifanyika. Na asubuhi yake Tuesday morning tukaenda mahali pale, tukapata HR na mkubwa wake, wakatuambia ya kwamba hata wao walikuwa mahali pale ilipofanyika, na ni kwamba kampuni yao iko na 25 years na hawajaiona kitu kama it was the first day.
Chris has worked in KVN for 5 years and he was very familiar with the machines, and whatever machine he operated in Kenafric is the same he used in KVN for 5 years. So the accident doesn't make sense for me. It doesn't make sense a lot because for 5 years sidhani kama mtu inaweza kuwa ni makosa unless something else went wrong that hatuelewi. Be honest, when they're doing the investigation, they be true, wasimame na ukweli. Let not this be thrown under the rug.
Tungeomba mambo ya makampuni ihakikisha mambo ya safety ya watendakazi, maana inakaa huyo kijana alikuwa amefanya na mashini kama hiyo kwa muda mrefu, kwa hivyo alikuwa na experience na si mtu wa kubahatisha, na kwa hivyo vile ajali ilipatikana inaonekana hawakuweka safety measures za kusaidia wafanyikazi. So hiyo ni kitu moja tunaona hatari sana, na vizuri ishughulikiwe mambo ya safety kwa ajili ya wafanyikazi.
Now for international news, fighting in the Democratic Republic of Congo between the army and M23 rebels has caused a fresh wave of displacement amid diplomatic efforts to resolve the conflict. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is visiting the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo to assess the security situation, has called on the rebels to put down their arms and hold dialogue with the government in order for lasting peace to be found. Kenyatta cautioned foreign-based rebel groups against continuing to operate on DRC soil. Kenyatta has been holding talks with the Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi in a bid to end the conflict and resolve tensions with Rwanda, which is accused of supporting the rebels. Regional forces have been deployed to fight MP23. So far, hundreds of young volunteers have responded to the call by DR Congo's president to join the front lines and fight against the M23 rebels.
And the message that we have today is that all groups who currently bear arms should lay those arms down and choose the path of peace through dialogue, because there is nothing that can be gained through the barrel of a gun. Silence the guns and join in a political process. That is to the local groups. To foreign-based groups, it is basically saying that the DRC is no longer the battleground for problems that are not from this country.
This week on Testify.
This life is enjoyable. It's at that time it was enjoyable. It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
But little did I know that my mom was crying.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom was crying every day. And I can tell you, for so many days I came home and I heard her praying and telling God, God, may you give me one. Give me one, because 4 of my brothers were out drinking.
Only on Hope TV. Look and live.
And now for our business news, the Ministry of Education has continued to express its commitment in supporting technical vocational education and training institutions, TVET, as one way of developing the youth skills for the ever-changing job market. According to the Assistant Director, Ministry of Education, Catherine Matara, there are ongoing efforts by the Ministry of Education to rehabilitate TVET institutions, to increase capitation for TVETs and to increase the number of TVET centers. Matara was speaking during an event hosted by KCB Foundation and the German Development Corporation, where youths who had successfully completed technical training under the KCB to Jiajiri program received 476 trade-specific building and construction toolkits in the construction sector to the tune of 19 million shillings.
The construction subsector had 2,896 beneficiaries that were trained through the KCB Foundation, sponsoring 1,896, while GIZ, the E4D program, provided scholarships to 1,000 beneficiaries in carpentry, joinery, electronic installation, masonry, brickwork, plumbing and pipework, welding and metalwork, tiling and painting. The success of our first phase led us to extend the partnership last year, scaling it to provide technical and vocational skills training for 3,500 youth in the construction sector through a grant worth 300 million for the next 3 years.
It has been a great pleasure to see the youth transiting from the training to self-employment. I know that the kit is going to support the youth to come up with various ways of generating income through their specialized areas.
Those of you who have been trained, those of you who have been given equipment today, please come out, support us, work with us on this journey, ensure that we are able to achieve results, ensure that you're able to achieve results in your neighborhood. And I like to say we cannot do everything at the same time. We start somewhere, and on that journey, we are able to achieve that which we tend to achieve.
Idea Hive, an innovative performance marketing agency, has made its inaugural launch into the East African market in a bid to provide data-driven technology to create unique, insightful brand strategies and marketing campaigns for clients. The company's chief executive officer, Ya Dauma, says the firm aims to grow its footprint across the continent while offering more informed strategies to better serve their customers in these markets. The East African operations will be led by newly appointed Managing Director Muriuki Murunge. In his remarks, Murunge expressed excitement to lead Idea Hive in the market, noting that he understands the dynamics marketers are facing in an evolving and competitive industry.
We think that the blueprint we've got would enable us to be competitive in Kenya and also provide our clients here in Kenya the edge that where they would now know and understand where their marketing spend is going via precision marketing.
It was about conversations around it, and this will be also part of the trend going forward based on our Hive lens. We call it the Hive lens. So generally, Hive lens is about having it's a department where we have conversations within the different facets of the sector, whether it's around fashion, whether it's around sports. So this will be part of the many conversations on the subject matter, but from a different stake within the market.
Some of the partnerships that are available is brands need to tap into their key players ecosystem. And when I talk about key players, some of the things that I want us to think about is channel and platforms.
Now for our sports news, Ghana will be without first-choice goalkeeper Jojo Wollacott at the World Cup after he suffered a finger injury before his final club game before the tournament. Charlton Athletics Wollacott was injured in the warm-up for a League One match at Barton on Saturday and has been left out of the Black Stars squad for Qatar. Ghana will face Switzerland in a friendly in Abu Dhabi on Thursday and begin their Group H campaign against Portugal on the 24th of November. Now, the Football Kenya Federation has on Tuesday begun integrity classes for FKF Premier League match commissioners and assessors at the Moi International Sports Center in Kasarani. The three-day training is aimed at ascertaining the preparedness of the match officials ahead of the kickoff of the 2022-2023 season. FKF National Super League match officials will then follow suit between the 22nd and 24th November. Thereafter, FKF Division on league referees will have their day between 28th and 30th of November.
We have covered topics that previously we have not been covering. Our first session was with the head of technical, Mr. Michael Amega, and he has taken us through a very important topic which will help us understand the coaches and members of the technical team of all our Premier League teams, as in what we expect from them, how qualified they are, and how we shall handle them moving forward. That will improve the way we relate with them.
I've had a very, very engaging session, and I'm happy that the message is getting on well with all the recipients. And earlier today, also again, I had another workshop with Sofapaka FC, a top-tier team in the Kenyan Premier League. And this with the intention of passing the message that match fixing is illegal, is a bad to our game, and the role that now all the members that are involved in all the members of Football Kenya Federation, which includes the players, the match officials, the club officials, the role that they are supposed to play, and mostly this is to resist, recognize, and report whenever they come around the issues of match fixing.
And that sports news brings us to the end of this live broadcast. My name is Grace Ongoy, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Morevi. Bye-bye.